What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another live stream for the Engadget Podcast. I'm senior editor Devindra Hardwar. Joining me today is deputy editor Cherlynn Lowe. Hey, Cherlynn.
Hello.
And podcast producer Ben Elman. Hey, Ben.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. We literally just got back from California from covering WWDC. So we've got a couple things to say about that. We'll be talking about Summer Game Fest. And how's everybody doing in the chat?
Daniel Diaz is here. George Morgan, Cut, Simon B, Michael Coley, Mark Dell, The Moon, Barty 305 Love. Good squad. Quinn Thompson. Hello.
Cuckoo. Good morning, everybody.
Simon says it's the best day of the week. I hope that's because of us, not because it's the day before Friday.
I hope so. I hope you all be sure you're subscribing to the podcast feed because there are bonus episodes we did at WWDC and also videos we did there, and that's on our TikTok too, right, Cherlynn? The one you had made?
It is coming.
Okay.
For reasons we shall not get into publicly.
Okay. But check out all our channels for all our stuff. We were able to do a video at WWDC and then just ran into a lot of stuff around Apple PR, which is always fun. But good morning, everybody. We've got some updates. There's also still a ton of news. There's like news outside of these events, so that's always fun.
Hi to Sami El Hadri Busani. And remember, everybody, if you're watching the stream, you owe us a audio podcast download.
And
okay,
go
to the
first
RSS.
of all, you don't owe us anything, but yes.
I think at the very least, if you are enjoying your creators, we're not asking for money, but certainly support is
I
always
would
helpful.
not say anyone owes us anything. That's just the wording.
No, that's not what you tell me in real life, Cherlynn, but okay.
But
yeah.
Sure.
Okay, we are confirming audio. Just for the new folks, we are recording the audio podcast. We won't be always talking with you on chat, but we'll do some breaks for Q&A and stuff. Playbacks Q&A. Okay.
So 305 Love, Apple Intelligence did not put me through the ringer. That is just the way I look this morning. And when I'm off camera, maybe I'll fix it. Okay, so what we're going to do, if you're new to the stream, we're going to sync. If you're a longtime stream watcher, you know what we're about to do. I'm going to count down from 3. At the end of 3, we're all going to make a sound. And you can put clap emojis, snap finger emojis, anything else in the chat, because that's always fun to see. So counting down from 3, 2, 1. And some silence. While we're doing silence, why not hit that thumbs up button on the live stream? Okay, right then. Silence over. Let's talk more about DubDub.
More about DubDub. I'm confirming my stream, my recording is going good. For some reason, the audio is coming in a little low. I'm going to pump that up. Okay, you guys good to go? And yeah, Ben, you're joining us. So I'll intro you at the beginning. Because you may chime in for Apple stuff too. I'm sure you have thoughts. I saw your document. Okay. All right, let's go in 3, 2, 1. What's up, Internet? And welcome back to the Engadget Podcast. I'm senior editor Devindra Hardwar.
I'm Cherlynn. Fuck, sorry. I got distracted by a different chat. Go on. Can we take that again?
Yep. What's up, Internet? And welcome back to the Engadget Podcast. I'm senior editor Devindra Hardwar. I'm
deputy editor Cherlynn Lowe.
We are back from Apple's WWDC, and we have thoughts, plenty of thoughts. And, I feel like it's just one of those whirlwind things. Both Cherlynn and I got back in from California yesterday. After recording this, I still feel like my body doesn't know like where I'm in, Cherlynn, or what time zone. I don't know how you feel.
I went to the gym at 8 a.m. Eastern. So, I mean, that's my best way of getting back on the Eastern time zone. There you go.
I like how you fit in the humble brag there. Yes, congrats on going to the gym, Cherlynn.
Always.
Fantastic. We're also going to be talking about Summer Game Fest, folks. We weren't there for that, and I was trying to get Jess Condit on, but she's super busy, still writing up stuff from that. So we have got a lot of coverage around that, and there's some stories I want to highlight that Engadget has done, and also some games that looks pretty cool. As always, folks, if you're enjoying the show, wait, let me do this again. I could get you right here, Ben. Also joining us this morning is podcast producer Ben Elman, who I'm sure has some thoughts on the game stuff in Apple. Right, Ben? You're muted. You good? We lost Ben. We lost Ben completely.
We seem to have
Wait.
Ben. Hey, I'm gonna take this time
He's
to
gonna
say
do a reset. Yeah.
hi to CF542, Jiming Zhong, Skilled Buyer.
What's up, everybody?
Okay, I'm back on.
Okay. Good. I will throw it back to you. Okay. And you're recording, Ben?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Also joining us this morning is podcast producer Ben Ellman, who I'm sure has thoughts on Apple and the game stuff.
Good morning. I sure do.
Good morning. And as always, folks, if you're enjoying the show, please be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice. Leave us a review on iTunes. Drop us an email at podcast@engadget.com. I'm not seeing enough of those emails. I would love to answer some reader questions. And I think people maybe overestimate like how busy things will be in that inbox. We will answer your questions. So please shout it out. You can also typically join us Thursday mornings around 10:30 a.m. Eastern, depending on the timing. Really, it's just like about scheduling. But that's about the time you can like carve out in your schedule for us. Join us. You could see us on video. Sometimes we'll demo gadgets, and we'll just have like a great Q&A session too. So it's a fun time. Join us for that. I do want to point out, if you're just listening to this episode, we did do a bonus episode at Apple's campus, and it actually turned out pretty well because Cherlynn and I were like right outside the Mac Cafe or Cafe
Yeah.
Mac, but we were outdoors, surrounded by traffic and other noise, but it actually ended up sounding pretty good, I'd say. And that was like our overall thoughts on WWDC after 2 days of going through meetings, going through the keynote and everything. In this episode, I kind of want to take like just a step back and do you have any final thoughts, Cherlynn? Because I know you did a piece about the undersung features that you appreciated that were announced. Anything else you want to shout out?
Yeah, when we did our recording, I don't think I had taken my demo of the new satellite messaging features
No,
just yet,
it was before
so
that.
I
Yeah.
wasn't able to talk about it. Plus, it was under embargo, it turns out. So,
Mm.
this morning, my article on the details of how messaging via satellite will work, is on Engadget.com if you want to head on over. But yeah, there's a lot of like under the radar things. I kind of got at some of them during our recorded episode earlier this week.
Mhm.
Maps, for example, I don't know if I mentioned, but like Maps had some really cool routes like for hikes built in now, and you can create a custom route and then you can share them. So my whole thing is I'm going to create these custom like scavenger hunt trails, or like how do you get from the train station to my favorite restaurant in the fastest way in my mind, and share
Mhm.
them with my friends. Or like share my goal is one day to share the preferred route with my Uber driver, like don't take this tunnel, take that tunnel. So that was one of them. I really like a lot of the other features that I found out after the fact, like iOS 18 actually has some math notes embedded into the Notes app,
Mhm.
where you can write a little list of expenses from a group trip, for example, and then put an equal sign to equate them, right? The name of like venue was $50,000, and
Mhm.
then I don't know, food was $10,000, and then you can tally it by saying venue plus food equal, and then take that divided by like however many
How big
people
of a
you're gonna
trip were
take
you
with.
having where you have $50,000 on the
I know,
venue?
right?
What?
I went. It was a wedding trip. This was like I was also on Brian Tong's podcast after, where I made this exact same sort of like
Uh-huh.
example, but instead of saying trip, I said wedding. So I'm using the same numbers from
Okay.
wedding
Okay.
planning,
Wedding planning. Yeah.
except for I said it was a trip. Listen, I travel bougie, I just go on boats my
Yeah, we
life.
do.
So
We are well aware.
um
But I feel
really
like that's a feature that could be abused also to sort of like, hey kids, follow this path to my murder den or
I
something like
mean,
that.
sure,
I
don't
don't know. I don't know.
obviously create custom paths to lure people into your ice cream van, but that's
Mhm.
obviously then on the person to decide whether or not to follow it. It's not like telling you where to
Sure.
live your life. Buddy305 Love in the chat asked if texting via satellite will be a paid service after a year. So Apple has literally no outright answer
It's
for
really
how much
shrug
this is going to
emoji
cost.
on all the satellite services for
I think
years.
it's less shrug emoji and more like kind of like not sure yet. I feel like the sense I'm getting is that they're playing their cards close to their chest.
Mhm.
The satellite service provider for their satellite services is Global Star,
Yeah.
and if I had to guess, I'd look at what Global Star charges and like maybe do some math around like the package or whatever.
But it's Apple. Like if they were to do that, it would be like discounted somehow. It'd be different
Right,
somehow.
exactly. That's what I meant. Like, do the math to make it not as expensive. In assuming you already have sort of a device that. I mean, again, I'm extremely extrapolating here. I'm not like,
Yeah,
I don't have
yeah.
any insider info here
I
other than
just
I know there's no plan.
I think it's funny. It's been like 2 years since Apple announced like satellite features. First of all, was like the emergency SOS feature, right? Like if you're stuck in the middle of nowhere, maybe you could send a short text somewhere to tell people where you are. And now it's like straight up like more messaging features.
Well, no,
Yeah.
so emergency SOS via satellite was just for
Yeah.
emergency responders. So you were only allowed to text, like, it would be like when you're trying to dial 911, but you
Yes. Yeah.
don't have a signal at all, then you would be redirected to a service center. So Apple had these like middle people that it was helping relay these emergency SOS messages to. Either it would figure out where your closest 911/emergency services situation is and route you there with your satellite message, or have you like have they handle it themselves, maybe if they like be the
Hmm.
dispatcher or they get in touch for you. um and it was like, yeah, only text messages.
Yep.
This time around, yeah, messages via satellite is different, right? You're not limited to who you can message over satellite this time. You can send it to pretty much anyone in your iMessage. iMessages are end-to-end encrypted. If you send them, you're also allowed to send SMS. The stipulation that Apple has put in place is that for SMS, only the person that's off grid is able to initiate a message over satellite,
Mm-hmm.
because they want to prevent, promotional business messages from clogging up the congestion, the network, the satellite network.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So yeah, it absolutely makes a lot of sense. And I think that the inclusion of SMS here is good. I mean, like, so I was like, why not RCS? And I think the idea, I think what I'm getting is that like RCS messages are like bigger in terms of size to like compress over satellite,
Yeah.
even if it's just text. So I think there's just challenges and complications there. But
Is it
still, like, cool
is it
tool.
straight up just text? Like, is it the Messages app, but doing multimedia stuff too over satellite,
No,
or is
so
it
it's
just the
just
texting
correct.
part?
So it's just text and then
Uh-huh.
with emoji,
Hmm.
as well as emoji tap back reactions. So by the way, before this dubbed up, I did not know that those reactions are called tap back. So thank you very much, WWDC,
Oh,
for
really?
uh
Kiss,
informing
kiss.
me. Yeah, those, how like when you're in a message with your
Yes.
friends and you like double tap their
I remember
balloon
when
and
they
then
announced it. Yeah.
react. I didn't know the name was tap back. I thought tap back was something else.
This is we can't take the Android out of Cherlynn because, like, yeah, that was a thing
Yeah.
people were talking about on the Apple side. It's just
I
funny
thought
when they
tap
talk
back was when
about
you tap the back of your phone.
no, um, you could apply so many like memes to Apple's approach to the satellite subscription, right? Like initially, it was like,
Mm.
ask me in 2 years, please. I have not figured this out yet. And then last year, they were like, we're gonna extend it for one more year, so I don't have to think about this. Like, it is the ultimate, can I extend the deadline for my book report, please, professor? Like, can I? It's very much, it's kind of hilarious. So now it's
Because
a whole, yeah.
I think it's interesting because it lines up with their approach to all of their Apple Intelligence things, where they're not charging people a fee.
Hmm.
I think there's an unspoken yet in there. And I think Apple wants to be able to see if there's a reason to charge people before it charges people, which is not a bad idea.
Hmm.
I think right now, satellite services on iPhone 14 and later haven't seemed, enough to justify paying an additional monthly fee for, even if it's $1 a month. Like, I
Yeah,
just don't know
and
yet.
it's.
But
Mhm.
with messages via satellite, I can see they're building their way there.
Yeah. It's also once you start being like, okay, we're gonna start nickel and diming you for this stuff, and I do feel like Apple is one of
Right.
those companies that's like that. Is that actually better for the customer experience? Does that actually mean people won't use it? Right? Like if
Right.
somebody has to subscribe to it and then they're in an actual emergency and they can't like
Right. Are you going to
subscribe to
block
it
them
on the
from it?
go,
Exactly.
is that person like, yeah, they don't know how
Right.
to deal with that potential PR disaster. So now it's
Exactly.
just like
The optics are awful if you're suddenly
optics are
just,
awful.
yeah.
So now it's like, okay, free for everybody, I guess. I think this is kind of related to something we were talking about, Trillin, where I really did not want Apple to do like a paid AI service. And they announced Apple Intelligence. And again, folks, go back to our bonus podcast. You can hear our main thoughts about all the major stuff. But they specifically did not do like Apple Intelligence Pro or Plus or anything. It's just like, hey, it's doing a lot of stuff that's baked into your devices, either the iPhone 15 Pro Max, or the Pro, or the newer devices coming up, or M series Max as well. But it's what's on device, some Apple stuff in the cloud, which they're doing some cool privacy stuff with, and very little bits of ChatGPT, like ChatGPT when necessary. But nowhere along this point are they like, please pay us more for faster AI. That's not
Mm.
happening, right?
It's not seeming like it's happening. And I think that's a good thing. And I think also the integration with ChatGPT at no cost is a
Yeah.
good idea on Apple's part. I do want to point out that CF 542 in the chat that say that if satellite texting is going to cost, they would rather pay per use instead of a monthly amount,
Sure.
because you'd rarely use it. And yeah, that seems like maybe it will be the approach.
Hmm.
It seems smarter to offer people that at a nominal one-time fee when needed for like something that's an emergency thing, right? Like you don't have to pay for every single use, but we'll charge you per text. That makes a little bit more sense, even if it's very 1990s.
I think that's the other thing.
Then
Like, oh,
yeah,
we're back to paying per text now. That's
I
weird.
know, I know.
Yeah,
But
there's a lot of
that
options.
helps to, reduce or relieve the congestion, potential congestion on those networks that are so precious.
Gotcha. Well, now that we've had some time away from WWDC, Cherlynn, and our coverage and all the meetings and everything, like, do you have any thoughts about what is next for Apple for the year ahead, or with their new software or anything?
I mean, I'm looking to iPhone event for surprises, I guess. I do think again, I'm keeping an eye on the chat, and
Mhm.
there are some things that like it feels. So we talked about this on the episode that we pre-recorded, but maybe for our like main audience, I want to
Mhm.
repeat and reiterate the main takeaway. It is that, as usual, it seems like for some of these features, Apple is copying or doing things that other people have done before, right? AI. The chat is talking about the icon tints, like the customizable homepage, the RCS with support. These are things that Android has done for a while. Android has had Material U and like the tinting of the icons. But like I gotta say, we said this the last episode, like, and Apple seems to do it a little bit better.
Mhm.
It's really it's more sophisticated. They took their time to do something better, and they're slow, and maybe the implementation isn't all the way there, but what they have delivered works the way they say it will, and they don't make
Mhm.
promises they don't keep.
I mean,
Really, they
typically, I
rarely
think
do.
that that's typically the thing.
Rarely. Yeah.
One thing I want to point out, there was news yesterday that basically Bloomberg reported that Apple is not actually paying OpenAI for using
Right.
ChatGPT, and also OpenAI is not paying Apple. It seems like a weird agreement where basically OpenAI will get money down the line from like revenue sharing. I guess that's like
Mhm.
the plan moving forward, but it is, to me, that really describes what we were talking about before, Sherlin, where Apple has been like, okay, we have all this AI stuff, and here carved in a little island is going to be our little like AI model friends, right? Right now, our friend is ChatGPT, but if that friend breaks this relationship, if like they
Right.
do something bad or we don't want to like deal with them anymore, you just like cut out that friend, like X them out entirely, replace them with another with Google Gemini or something. It seems very like plug and play, like what Apple can put in there. They also mentioned that they would consider Gemini. They have not made any formal deals, or other models that are very specific. So like if you're a health worker, maybe there's a medical AI model that would be better suited for helping you rather than ChatGPT or something. So that is interesting.
It was nice of them. Nice. It was like
Mhm.
smart of them to be like, oh yeah, we're supporting the best one out there who's a pioneer in the field. It is open AI. And I'm like, I don't know. I'd argue with best. It is a pioneer, certainly, and I will see, right? And like they never mentioned. They actually in the panel after WWDC keynote, by the way, that I just seen moderated
Uh-huh.
panel, Craig Federighi did mention that like Gemini or John Andrea might be the one that said this, but
Mhm.
yeah, Gemini might even be supported in future if it gets to that
Federici said
point.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. So interesting.
It's interesting. Also, by the way, I just want to talk about like how weird that whole situation was. So after the WWDC keynote, Apple invited press to come to this talk between Craig Federighi, their head of software engineering, and John Gianandrea, their head of AI. Right? And I'm like, oh, this can be interesting. This can be informative. But it was also moderated by iJustine. And no shade to her, I think she's great. But it did feel like this was just a scenario where Apple wrote these questions and it's like, hey, person who is
Yep.
media well known, please ask
It's
these questions that we've asked and do not stray from any of this, right?
So
it's
like
like
the
one step
simulation.
above.
Sorry,
It's
sorry. No,
sorry.
no, you go, you go.
It's one step above when Samsung does its like
Hmm.
their own company execs interviewing their other company executives situation where like
Yeah.
you're paid literally by Samsung to interview Samsung people. In this case, I don't know if iJustine was paid, but it definitely feels
Oh
like,
no,
yeah,
most
you're a
definitely,
bit
most
more
definitely.
right, but someone that was more controllable than say a member of the press. So Sorry, Ben.
it is interesting when companies do that. But Ben, go ahead. Mhm.
So I was going to say that it was also a little bit like how Disney does all of its PR stuff.
Definitely, yeah.
Actually, like this is on my mind because I saw the 4 hour long, not was it 4 hours
It's 4
actually?
hours. The Star
Yeah,
Wars hotel video. Yeah.
yeah. And so now people are talking about, oh, well, Disney does PR kind of weirdly because it's also like really on rails. You have to say like the actual trademark name for everything. And it seems very clear that they fed the questions to everyone beforehand. So
It's
was this similar?
to me, actually had that in my mind too, Ben. To me, it did feel like that. It's sort of like, yes, because of course, branded content right here, blah, blah, blah. Everything we just said at the keynote. Like it definitely felt on rails. It didn't feel like a natural conversation where, I feel like if one of us were to do that chat, we'd be like, yeah, but what are you training these models on? What's going on here? Like, give us the full skinny and everything.
Can you tell us a
Yeah.
little bit more about private cloud compute? Because that sounds like you're talking out of both sides of your mouth.
They
We
did
care
it.
about
They did end up saying more about that, but even then, I would have liked to be more.
Yeah.
But that is funny. I wrote up like what Apple and what specifically I think Craig Federighi laid out for the whole Apple, the private cloud compute thing too. But the really interesting there too is like Apple for years has been saying like, hey, our stuff is on device. It's more secure than Google, where you're sending all your photos to the cloud for processing or whatever. And now they have to rely on the cloud a little. So they're like, okay, but is it a secure cloud? Is it a private cloud? Yes, private cloud compute. Apple did say a few things that were interesting about that, Ben, where the information being sent, first of all, it's tidbits, like the little bits of information that if you're asking Siri about something, will go there fully anonymized, like the private relay stuff that is already on iPhones and Apple services. So that's helpful. Also the servers don't store anything, which I think I'm sure the FBI is looking at this and like, no, Apple, please, we need logs, we need data to see how people access things, and none of that is going to be on the servers. They say Apple has historically there was that whole thing right about them fighting against the FBI that wanted to unlock. I think it was a shooter's phone at one point, right?
Yes, I remember that. That was like 2015, 2016 or something.
Yeah. So, and then I believe authorities got into the phone in another way, but Apple, for its part, was like trying hard to push back against that. So, yes, it's a bad name. It's also like very marketing heavy, but also like I don't know. They say they've laid out like the software that the servers are also using for security audit. Devices will only be able to talk to those approved servers, so it's not like somebody can like intercept your question or something. And the audit thing is something nobody else is doing for cloud security right now, at least from what I've seen. So
The way it made it seem like in the keynote, though,
Mhm.
was that like everyone gets their own like place in the server rack, which is impossible.
No. That's certainly not true. But like when you talk about the cloud, right? The cloud is an amorphous thing. It could be 10 servers, it could be 20 servers, but the point is it's like this thing that can grow as needs require. I mean that's just how we've been living with the cloud so far. But I certainly feel better about private cloud compute than I did about like Microsoft Recall, right? Where researchers were immediately like, "Oh, you're just gonna capture everything we do on on our computers, okay? You're not you're not blurring out passwords or authentication or anything." And then people realize like, yeah, these are just a plain text database sitting in your hard drive. The other accounts on your system can access those very like easy to see security holes. I at least think like Apple has anticipated some of those on the server side. So that's something. Yeah. Any other thoughts, Cherlynn, out of WWDC?
I mean, I honestly feel like I could talk about Dub Dub
Yep.
forever. But I will say that some people in our chat seem to be like underwhelmed by it all. I think
I get it.
I don't know about underwhelming. I think more I was intrigued by a lot of like the little things that seem to be coming to iOS 18 and watchOS. I can't wait to try some of these features out for myself and see how my like more mainstream average friends, average Joe friends, feel about AI. Like I was in the gym this morning to repeat that.
Oh my
And I
God.
was asking everybody, everyone was like, how was California? Because, I didn't come to the gym for a few days. And I was
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, I learned about this, learned about that. And like, I'm waiting to see how people feel about it. And I don't think we'll know until iOS and all the other software updates really roll out later this year. So see.
It's certainly not as exciting as last year was. Like I went last year because there was new hardware and a whole new platform and a whole new vision of computing for Apple. And now this is like, hey, we are just like catching up a little bit on AI. But also I think this this stuff is far more important in the long run for Apple than just the launch of Vision Pro, because Apple Intelligence covers everything. It's going to cover all their devices. It's also like a kind of like a reframing of how Siri will work, of how a lot of like their apps will work, like notes and everything, getting certain AI driven features. Like briefly they had mentioned, oh, you could record calls on voice memos and also have those automatically transcribed. And for some people like us, that's amazing stuff. That's tremendously useful. Also another example of Apple, like maybe putting a few apps out of business. I think Call Recorder and some of the other ones, like they may have some trouble. Yeah.
They're putting my favorite tiny app out of business with Mac OS Sequoia. I love Magnet, and now they're going to do Windows tiling innately on the OS.
Straight out of Windows 10, baby. Apple's got it in 2024. Amazing. Anything else you want to shout out, Ben? Because I know you had a lot of thoughts too on Apple's side.
The biggest thing was that it seems like a hidden app folder is going to be a problem in a lot of people's relationships.
It's not that hard to bury an app into something right now, but yeah, that's certainly what a targeted way to like hide your Tinder,
Yeah. And I mean, the way that these companies are going to pitch it is the same way companies pitched private browsing when private browsing started to be a thing, which is like, if you want to look for gifts for your loved ones or something and you don't want them to know about it. Yeah, sure. Okay.
Sure, buddy. Sure. I like the app lock controls. That stuff looks cool. I don't know.
I was thinking specifically about like you giving your phone to one of your kids.
That's what it is.
And then making sure that like they can only like watch a video or play that one game inside an app or something like that.
That's super helpful, and also shows like, Apple's kind of evolving its platforms for the way we actually use our devices, because you still can't do multi-users on an iPad or something, right? So you have to hand an iPad with all of your stuff on it to a kid, and that's not great. And they probably will never do multi-user. They'll be like, buy another iPad. That's how you do multi-user iPads, right? So
buy your mom an iPad.
And that's how I have ended up with like 3 or 4 iPads in my house, and I'm already contemplating another one, just because the ones I bought, I was like, oh, we could share this, we could all use this. No, my daughter took this one, my wife took this one. This is now the baby video iPad. So it's tough. It's tough to show.
To repeat what Michael Coley in the chat said, I am adequately whelmed. This is absolutely true. I am not overwhelmed, underwhelmed. I am whelmed by WWDC 2024. I will say though that Craig Federighi's all like his jokes and like the stunts or what do you call them? Gags. Yeah, those are. I thought it was funny, and then the locked and hidden apps are a thing I have to. Like, it was gonna make me feel even more like suspicious as a person. It's just not. It's gonna like trigger my suspicious nature even more than usual. But I like how very also like Craig Federighi's like hairstyling pro app on his phone that he wants to hide was just such a funny thing to do.
Also the helmet that he was wearing in the skydiving scene that was literally just his hair.
I love the outfits. The skydiving outfits were like this.
Those are great. The jumpsuit
like
with the
Apple spacesuits, almost like astronaut suits, but with like the colors. It was beautiful.
And it made so much sense that it was kind of like a hark back to like the like Apple II era too.
Apple II, like white plus the colorful Apple. Yep. I almost feel like they kind of threw some shade at Google, right? They're like, oh, this was not on the live stream, but Tim Cook and Craig Federighi did get up on the stage at Apple Park and we're like, hey, we're not going to have any fun. Right. There's not going to be any stunts. It's just going to be an hour of us just like delivering.
It was very sarcastic.
It was very sarcastic, but also literally what he was describing is what Google did. Just an hour of no fun delivering AI facts. I'm like, this is very boring and I don't care about all this. And also, I don't know if I can trust half of this. I will say, like, ultimately, between all the Copilot stuff Microsoft has done, between everything we've seen from OpenAI and ChatGPT and the Google Gemini stuff, I at the very least feel like, hey, we could kind of trust Apple Intelligence a little more because it's more focused on, hey, I will do this thing within this app to make your life better, and not I am an overall assistant to do everything for you, and I don't know what you're going to do with these AI generated images, but here they are. It feels more purposeful, maybe not as exciting as it did last year for a lot of people, but this is kind of how we will be using AI, just like how we're using it right now for like occasional transcriptions and things like that. Like that is useful functional stuff that doesn't require stealing, I don't know, resources from artists and also killing the environment in the way that generated images can. Yeah. Any further thoughts, folks? Otherwise, we can move on to games. You want to take some questions first?
Yeah.
Let's do, because I see a lot of stuff happening in the chat.
Franklin Goodwin, you take that back. Apple Intelligence is nowhere near Bixby. Bixby is dumb AF.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Bixby was like literally the example of all the dumb, smart things.
Sir Holmes repeated, basically, said the same thing we did, which is that Apple is late because they like to work on hard problems first. Although that's not exactly what we said. What is the idea of hard problems, Sir Holmes? Tell me in this context what you mean.
I mean, when we talk about this stuff, it's more like, how do you make this stuff human usable, right? Whereas what I think Microsoft did with Copilot was like, hey, you like all this AI stuff. Here's all this AI stuff within Windows. How does it actually interoperate? Doesn't matter. Can we trust it? I don't know. Pay more for it, though.
Sir Holmes is talking about Vision Pro. Okay. Fair enough.
Okay.
And Simon B says Google is known to kill new innovations like Stadia was one. Yes, absolutely. We talk about the Google graveyard all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I have a roommate. One of my friend's roommates was like a diehard Stadia guy. And so for a little while, I was talking to him and saying like, okay, well, if we ever want to have someone on the show as an example of someone who's actually used Stadia, I'll reach out to you.
Yeah, I know people who've used Stadia. I mean, hopefully they've gone on to like the many other cloud services that exist and won't just disappear at the drop of a hat. So that's something.
Mark Dell says there was a diehard Stadia guy.
One guy. It was one guy.
Yes, it was one guy, and he lived in Brooklyn.
That's not too surprising. But yeah, folks, I would highly recommend. I know we didn't fully run down everything Apple mentioned here, but go listen to the bonus episode. That's why I rushed to get that out on Tuesday so that it's a little more fresh and more tied to all the Apple news.
Okay, I think let's talk about games.
Let's do games. Okay. All right, let's move on to Summer Games Fest. And, while Cherlynn and I were in California doing all the Apple stuff, prepping for WWDC, another whole contingent of Engadget was in LA prepping for Summer Game Fest and getting ready for demos and briefings and all sorts of stuff. There is no E3 this year because E3 is dead. We've talked about that. But Summer Game Fest is now sort of like the sort of new E3, like because it's multiple streams. It's the Game Fest stream with Jeff Keighley, but also Microsoft does a thing. Sony did their thing a couple of weeks ago. We see all these like cute things. I'm going to highlight some coverage here. Have you seen Lego Horizons Adventures, Cherlynn? Do you understand what I'm talking about?
I have not seen that. I have not seen many of the Lego movies. Actually, very recently I saw
it's
that.
It's not a Lego movie thing. It's a Horizon game thing. So let's explain to what goes on here, Cherlynn. Popular games and franchises occasionally get Lego-fied. So there's Star Wars Lego, there's Harry Potter Lego. Basically, there's more Marvel Lego stuff, right? This is the latest version of that stuff. So Horizon, the Horizon series on PlayStation from PlayStation 4 and 5 is now Lego formed, and I think looks pretty adorable. I don't know, Ben, have you played the games? Because I feel like the Horizon games look really cool, but are really annoying to play. They feel like sub-tier AAA gaming for me, where I'm like, I understand why you look so good, but I really wish I liked playing you better. And this game just looks like more fun than the actual Horizon games.
I'm going to be real with you. I think there's a lot of stuff that is like Sony exclusive that feels like a simulation of a AAA game.
Sure.
I am playing Ghost of Tsushima right now, and it is fun. It's beautiful, but it's also surprisingly repetitive. So I
like every
really
open world game.
Yeah, I really understand where you're coming from, but like the new Zelda open world games like Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild didn't feel quite as repetitive as
Mhm.
like Ghost of Tsushima did.
Like Tsushima.
Tsushima.
Yeah, I think the thing like the Zelda stuff feels more alive and immersive, right? Like things just kind of you stumble upon into things. You're not like led from plot point to plot point. And I think the thing about Horizon is just it plays very badly. It's kind of like slow pace. There's a lot of like bow and arrow action. Whereas at least with Ghost of Tsushima, like you get cool samurai action. It's really fast. Like the actual action is fast. But anyway, I'm not a huge fan of the Horizon games playing them, but Lego Horizon Ventures looks really cool.
But and the
Yeah.
really important thing about this being a Lego-fied version of a Sony title is
Yeah.
that the Lego-fied versions of things are often like some of the first video games that kids play, period. So that is their introduction to, Batman. That is their
Mhm,
introduction
mhm.
to Indiana Jones. That's their introduction to Harry Potter. When
Star
parents,
Wars.
yeah,
Yeah.
when parents think that maybe the real thing might be a little bit too advanced for them, or
Yeah.
the idea of someone falling down dead is scarier than just Lego bricks like exploding.
Yeah,
So
they're also funnier. These games tend to be like very
yeah,
comedic, very tongue in cheek. The Star Wars stuff like actively makes fun of Star Wars at times, which I think is hilarious. I need to play through those. Like they've done pretty much all the Star Wars movies, right? I need to play through those with my daughter.
so
Aaron
this is a
Saporis,
great idea to like introduce kids to
most
one of
definitely.
Sony's like big franchises too.
Oh man, they should do Lego Last of Us.
Oh no.
Lego Last of Us is such an SNL like skit idea. Lego Last of Us would be amazing.
Lego
Um,
Last of Us Part 2, where they try to Legofy the cycle of
yeah.
violence
What
that
is the nature
we
of
talked about.
revenge?
Yeah, exactly.
That would be beautiful. Aaron Saporis at Engadget calls Lego Horizon Adventures maybe Sony's most important game of the year. Recall that Sony said that they're not going to have any major like basically like studio titles happening this year. So this is a pretty big one for them. Some other stuff. Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess from I think Capcom. Yeah, from Capcom looks really cool, and it's like an action fantasy plus strategy game. Jessica Condit previewed it. She says it feels as luscious as it looks. This is a weird looking game because it's like it looks like a little bit like almost like Ninja Gaiden actioner, but also there's like strategy stuff happening at the same time. I have no idea what's going on here, but this thing is coming on July 19th. So that is sooner than most of the games shown off at Summer Games Fest. So
Yeah,
yeah,
from the screenshot, it looked kind of Souls-like a little bit, and then I watched a bit of the trailer, and I was like, "No, this is Bayonetta," but then also what, like strategy? It seems like it might be
yeah,
interesting, and if you're interested in any of those genres, then maybe it's two great tastes that taste great together.
for sure. We're gonna give all these games a Cherlynn scale. So I think the Lego the Lego Horizon game, maybe 8 out of 10 on the Cherlynn scale. Okay. This game, I would say 0 out of 10. But I've got one for you, Cherlynn.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel Rivals, which is a team shooter using all the Marvel characters. I could see you getting into that. I could see that being a 7 out of 10 on
A
the Cherlynn
team
scale.
shooter?
It is sort of like Overwatch, except it's all the like literally all the Marvel people. So Iron Man, Hulk. I don't
Can
know.
I,
Is Hulk blasting
can I play
rays?
as
I don't know
Vision?
how this is happening. Yeah, Vision. Also X-Men stuff happening at the same like within it from I can see. Spider-Man's in here, Venom's in here. All the Marvel stuff in a team thing. I could see
I
this
would
being a
say
fun
you know what I would play, not a team shooter. I would play a Marvel dating sim. Let's put Iron Man with like Vision. Let's make them make out, you know?
You
There
know,
was
if Marvel weren't
You heard it here
cowards,
first.
that would
Mhm.
do incredibly well. Because I was about to say something about how, like, Marvel has really infrequently had a real, like, blockbuster franchise.
Mhm.
I mean, Spider-Man, I think, does some of the best for them. But if they were brave enough to do a dating sim where
They
you
they
skip
kind
the
of did.
characters.
They kinda did. Sherlyn, I think you need to play Marvel's Midnight Suns, which was a
Hmm.
sort of like RPG,
Okay, but
strategy
is it
RPG. There
romance?
are romances within it. There are
Mm.
relationships. So it is a game where you have to fight big bad guys, but also you spend most of the time at like a dormitory just hanging out with Blade and everybody and just like hanging out, having conversations. For me, that was always like my favorite part of like X-Men stuff too. of just people talking to each other. So everybody,
Okay.
let's
Um,
go check out Marvel Midnight
But I
Sunstorm.
wanna correct your scale a little bit. I
Uh-huh.
think like I don't know about 8 out of 10 for the Lego Horizons thing.
I
Doesn't
see it
seem
being good for
interesting to
you.
me yet.
I see it
I
being good
need
for
it to be
you.
like extremely repetitive. Like this, I
Oh.
think dude, hang on. Dude named Charlie in
Mhm.
the chat was like Papa's Pastaperia or something. Pasteria. I don't know. It's if you put a word like a cute character like a Papa and you give me
Mhm,
food
mhm.
like pasta, that's 9 out of 10 on my scale. You know.
The thing about the Lego games is that they're all very repetitive. Like it's about collecting stuff and just like very, very low difficulty things. So anyway, Marvel Rivals, Matt Smith wrote this up and he calls it like, yeah, the biggest threat to this is all the other rival team shooters like Overwatch. This thing looks cool, but I do not understand how they're balancing the various powers here. So I guess we'll see. Matt Smith also covered Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is the one set in Japan, and this one looks really cool. There's going to be a female assassin, also the legendary black assassin or black samurai Yasuke is featured in this one too. This game looks bad as hell, like badass in the
Oh,
way that
okay.
Ghost of Tsushima does. Like I think it looks really cool. The only thing is it's Assassin's Creed, and I don't know if we can trust Ubisoft to be super original lately, at least with the Assassin's Creed games.
Mm.
Thoughts, Ben, Cherlynn?
So I remember years ago, I looked up an article just now, and Ubisoft said in 2014 that they would
Yes.
never do an Assassin's Creed game set in feudal Japan. But now that like Assassin's Creed
Tsushima,
is
yeah.
basically, but now that Assassin's Creed is basically like releasing games, what, every year, every 2 years, so it's become kind of like a 2K franchise. We have Assassin's Creed 2K24. We're finally getting Assassin's Creed in Japan.
That's some. I mean, it was the most obvious thing in the world. Like, come on, a lot of us grew up playing Ninja Gaiden and a lot of similar games. Like, just give us open world, give us cool swords. Like, that's what this. It's we're begging you,
And that's
Ubisoft, to
what
do it.
people were thinking about, like,
Yeah.
early on. They were saying, "Okay, well, what assassins do we really know about? Perhaps the ones in Japan?"
Okay, so anyway, that looks cool. And that's also going to be on Apple hardware too. Apple made a point to point out to show that that's going to be running on Macs and also like iPads and stuff too. So this is another example of Apple getting like AAA games. I believe they also got the last couple Assassin's Creed. Yeah, the recent one set in the Middle East was also on Apple devices. So that's all cool stuff. We actually saw some hardware from all these
Mhm.
announcements too. Microsoft announced,
That was cool.
I don't know if it's cool. It's
Cool to
very
me to see, like, hardware out of a gaming show, I guess, you know?
it's confusing because what we ended up getting is there's a 1 terabyte all digital Xbox Series X, which is not selling very well right now at $450. That's confusing because the MSRP for the Series X is still $500, but everybody has that thing on sale below 450. So for the longest time, you could have gotten the Series X for like 400. I think at times, occasionally, I saw it to like 350, with a disk drive and everything. There's no like hardware tweak for this. They're not making this any faster, so that is really weird. Especially as we're hearing about the like PlayStation 5 Pro coming out. There is a $600 2 terabyte special edition Xbox Series X, which is baffling to me because very few people are buying the Xbox Series X. So presenting an even more expensive one, Cherlynn, I don't understand the
I'm
calculus
surprised it's
here.
more expensive. I will say I
Yeah.
saw the headline, and that's really the extent of it. I was like, "Oh, an all digital Series X, cool. I guess the Series S doesn't need to exist anymore." I don't know. And also,
Mhm.
like, am I getting this one? Because I don't like to collect discs. I don't. But then
No,
you're saying it's more expensive than the previous Series X.
it depends. It's more expensive
Mm,
than the like MSRP. So this
like,
is all very confusing. And Aaron Saporis wrote up a great piece about like this is a little disappointing because we also saw from the whole Xbox leak stuff, and you can't always take that information like to be completely
mhm.
legit. But we did see design specs from Microsoft saying that they were working on a $500 2 terabyte all digital Xbox Series X. That was codenamed Brooklyn with faster Wi-Fi and a lot of stuff, and a new controller that had like motion sensing, like doing more stuff like the DualSense controller is doing now on PlayStation 5. That controller is nowhere to be seen. And instead, we have a more expensive Xbox Series X that people already were not wanting from Microsoft. So that is weird. Microsoft did show off like a whole bunch of cool games at their thing. Like we finally saw Perfect Dark. We saw a bit of the new Fable. It has also been years since those things were announced, and those games also aren't coming till 2025, I believe. So again, like I don't know what a difference is going to make for Microsoft, but so confusing. When I look at Microsoft's problems, I'm like, well, just you want to sell subscriptions, man? Just make your shit cheaper. Let people buy your box, and then they will subscribe to your thing. Nobody's going to buy $600 Xbox. Maybe the weird, like the people who have already bought Xbox Series X's may buy another one. I don't know. It's just baffling to me. So, just does
The
Microsoft
market
not
for
want to?
Xbox seems
Mhm.
soft, so why
It's
would
super soft. My thinking is like Microsoft just doesn't want to lose more money on it because they're already losing a ton of money in Xbox hardware. So like if you lower the price, then you're taking a bite out of potential revenues, right? But if you raise the price, then at least like maybe you'll make that up for the loyal fans who are already supporting you, who are rebuying second consoles. I don't know. That just seems kind of baffling to me. Another tidbit, the Xbox head, Phil Spencer said, I think we should have a handheld. So wonder what that means. Are they going to debut something this holiday season? Is that the thing they're really going to want people to push to rather than a box into your TV? Maybe a handheld that can be docked like a Switch or like a Steam Deck or something. Like to me, that seems like a logical path forward for Microsoft, especially if you want to sell Game Pass subscriptions. So yeah. Would you buy an Xbox handheld, Cherlynn?
I mean,
You love
buy is a
handhelds.
strong word.
Would
I
you
will
play one?
play on one, depending on the software, I think.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I have like an INAO that I borrowed from
Mhm.
Sam, I believe, and it's full Windows. And after a while, it's kind of basically sitting collecting dust. So I don't know that I'm the type of person that will get like a Steam Deck or whatever. It
I mean, the
really
Steam Deck is so
depends.
much bigger too. So yeah, okay. I
Right.
think we know
I
where
mean, I like my
Cherlynn stands.
Switch. I hook it up to my TV. I think
Yeah.
maybe if the Xbox gaming handheld could be hooked up to the TV, like a lot of them can, then I would be more inclined to, yeah.
There's no reason they couldn't, and right now that's
Right.
another good use of the Steam Deck is it's sort of like a portable console that you can play handheld, but bring it on vacation, dock it to the TV if you want to, and do some like big living room gaming too. I remember you liked Arcane, right, Cherlynn, the series,
This the
the
show?
League of Legends show. Yeah. So we
Yes.
saw a trailer for season 2.
Ish.
That looks fantastic. It seems like that's going to be the only other season of Arcane. So that looks cool. At least from what we've seen so far. That show takes forever to produce because the animation is so complicated and so in depth. But I'm looking forward to seeing that. Yeah, folks, let us know what you like from all the gaming announcements. Like I was so focused on Apple, I only saw occasional trailers here and there, but Perfect Dark looked cool. I am playing a bit of I Am Your Beast, which is the demo. That demo's up now on Steam, and that's from the folks who did that like Max Payne clone recently, which looked that was a cool game. I really enjoyed playing that, and I Am Your Beast is just like cool and stylish and violent in all the fun ways. So podcast and Engadget.com. Let us know what you enjoyed from Summer Game Fest and all the announcements recently. Let's move on to other news. How do you think, like, what do you think, Cherlynn? Currently, as of now, I think
Mhm.
X is officially making likes mostly private for everybody. Do you think this will like hide your shame or do you not care?
I saw I mean, we were having a chat in the like
Mm-hmm.
afternoons, like of the team, the afternoon shift. And I know that Pranav was like quite upset he cannot no longer stalk some of the people that he would look at their likes. I think this for
It's
me,
helpful. Yeah.
it was helpful. I think it helped you understand what people were like in a way that their tweets or their retweets weren't going to show. For me, I personally don't care. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
didn't care if people saw my likes or not. Like I'm not going around liking salacious or like
Yeah.
embarrassing
Yeah.
things. But yeah, my take on this move is it's obviously protecting the people that Elon Musk wants to protect and himself included, right? Like
Sure.
what is he liking? I mean, the thing that makes me like pause is like what if what if a social platform like Instagram starts doing this to like hiding your likes because you used to be able to like stalk people way more easily on Instagram, let's be honest. And then now it's like a bit more like of hoop jumping. And I know that so all my experience of the internet is through the lens of Reddit, right? And
Uh-huh.
Reddit, there's one that I follow that's like I don't follow it, but it pops up on my homepage. It's the the Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey sort of subreddit where they're like, look at all the people he follows and look at all their posts he liked. And I'm like, wow. Like
It's
it's
kind of
not,
crazy. Yeah.
I don't think it's telling really. I don't know, but like it is some data that you're now,
Hmm.
that are now being hidden from you. So it is like free speech, but hide your shame. I don't know. I have,
That's what it is. Like every
yeah,
time Elon is like, yeah, we believe in total free speech, but also I don't want people to see what I truly believe in.
exactly.
And the dude has been out there saying like, I don't know, racist and misogynistic things and honestly anti-Semitic things at points too. So it's like the dude has actively supported neo-Nazis on his feed. I wonder what I almost look at think like he just learned that likes are totally public and that people can hit a button and see everything you've liked. And
Right.
then it's just like a line of like porn and weird random stuff and weird racist stuff that he
I
is
feel
now
as if
getting
like he
into.
got called out or caught doing
Yeah.
something recently that,
Yeah.
but the thing is we've all noticed that he does these things, stupid like replies and
Hmm.
whatnot. And so like why is he only realizing now? I think someone that he cares about the
Almost
opinion
definitely.
of told him.
It's Cat Turd or whoever, like one of those people that also are big fans of the former president. I don't know. It's a very silly thing.
Yeah.
Also, we saw in the news this week that Elon Musk withdrew his breach of contract lawsuit against OpenAI on Tuesday. The move came a day before a California judge was supposed to like hear OpenAI's request for dismissal for that whole thing. I think that lawsuit came about after that was when like he thought he said OpenAI had become like a closed source de facto subsidiary of Microsoft and was basically using OpenAI to make a lot of money and to license its services, and he just pulled back on that. I wonder if the revelation about the Apple deal
I,
not being fully a thing that is making a
right.
ton of revenue could be part of that. But the other
He's just jealous. He's just jealous Grok isn't getting more
he's all
money.
about he wants the grok. He wants everybody to grok. There was another report yesterday that OpenAI's actual revenue is reportedly booming with annualized revenue of $3.4 billion according to a new report.
Mm.
That's a lot of money. Where is that money coming from? Because it's not just like ChatGPT Pro subscriptions.
Microsoft?
I mean, as revenue,
Don't know about
because
revenue,
Microsoft
yeah.
owns 49%. I don't
No.
quite know. So there's a lot of like weird, shady stuff happening.
The
Uh,
paid subscription version of ChatGPT alone, I don't know if that's
It
enough.
can't be
I don't know if enough people
billions.
are
Like
using it.
that it's
Yeah.
$20 a month, and also like I don't know how many people are actually doing that. Anyway, what did you think of this, Cherlynn? The news that Chrome OS will soon be leaning on the same technology that powers Android. That
I
that kind of makes sense, I
yeah.
guess. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's interesting as to like what it implies for the future of Chrome
Hmm.
OS. I think we've been waiting so long for this sort of like midway between Chrome and Android OS that could help Google better take on or better make better tablets or tablet software. Um, that's really all I could really think about. I mean, I don't know that.
Well,
Yeah, I
specifically
mean,
right here, Google is saying it will
yeah.
be embracing portions of the Android stack, like the Android Linux kernel and Android frameworks, as part of the foundation of Chrome OS. So that's interesting because before Chrome OS was like a Linux foundation plus
Mhm.
Chrome, plus a lot of Chrome stuff, whereas Android was
Mhm.
always like a Linux foundation, and now they're like, well, let's just kind of smush
It's
the two
it's
together a little bit, right?
it feels as if it's building out the OS a bit more, like the Android kernel, the Android framework, that sort of
Mhm.
stuff, like in the way it handles maybe I guess notifications or apps, maybe. And then like with Chrome running as a very like browser-based sort of OS, like maybe it'll be on top of that Android framework even more.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
here's the other thing too. Apparently this is going to take some time, but it will, according to Google, enable more AI features on Chromebooks.
Mhm. Or at
We
least like
need more AI.
enable. Yeah, it'll make it easier to develop because right now, if they wanted to do that, they'd have to like build out the Chrome OS actual software base plus the separate
Right.
stuff for Android, and now Google can kind of combine work a little more easily. So I
Um,
think
yeah, and in the past, like Chrome OS has adopted quite a few Android features already. Like, yes,
Mhm.
like I said, more Android app support, and
Yeah.
then also the Android Bluetooth infrastructure was also baked into Chrome OS. I can tell you exactly when, but somewhat recently. Um, so yeah, it looks like definitely they want to put more AI in Chrome
I'm sure
OS.
Google folks are looking at this and like, why are we managing two separate code bases for very, very similar
Mm,
products at times? Like, ultimately Chrome OS could just end up being Android running like a full screen, version of Chrome or something, or like a slightly, I don't even know. I don't even know why it should be a whole separate thing, except Chrome OS was a lot more secure than Android. So maybe this could open up security vulnerabilities. I don't know.
Mm.
We shall see. Final bit of news this week, and there's so much news this week, so we didn't get to have a chance to do everything. But
Yeah.
I saw the news yesterday that Alamo Drafthouse is being bought by Sony Pictures.
Yeah.
That is something.
I didn't know how to feel about this, honestly.
Mhm.
I couldn't tell if it was a good thing net or not so great thing. I mean, we all love Alamo Drafthouse, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's like, huh.
Well, it's a whole thing. So in 2020, was it the Paramount decree ended, and that was the whole
Mhm.
thing. That was the thing that prevented movie studios from owning movie theaters, because that's how it used to be before the 1950s. So like studios
Right.
had direct control over cinemas, and the experience of that meant they would like limit which movies could go
Right.
where, or like really isolate things. Similar to how like some games can only be on certain consoles, like how that all stuff is controlled. So this is the first example we're seeing of that whole thing kind of going away a little bit. Um, it's interesting because Alamo has been kind of in trouble for a while. They declared bankruptcy a couple of years ago. I know their licensees have been shutting down in several states. Like people have been also talking about like bad labor practices and something from them. This will financially help Alamo Drafthouse and help it survive longer as a brand, but I do wonder what this means. Like, how will
Yeah.
Sony picture integrations make their way into this chain? Will Sony like block things from other, you
That's what I was
know,
thinking.
other folks?
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping them from doing that because the
Right.
Paramount decree is gone. So that is weird.
Yep.
And I do wonder if we'll see more of that too, because before the whole like Reddit stock stuff happened, like AMC was tanking for a while, Regal was
Mhm.
tanking, and there was a thinking that these other companies, movie studios and other companies, may just start buying up theater chains, because these are big buildings that are already built with giant screens. Like there's a lot you could do with that infrastructure that isn't just like doing studio movies and stuff too. So I guess we'll see. I'm just like really, I don't know, just really hesitant to like celebrate this news at
I
all.
know.
Yeah. Let's move on
Same.
to what we're working on. Are you working on anything, Sherlyn? Because I'm kind of dead right now.
I am dead, but I have like something like 4 edits on my plate today. So I gotta power through and meetings, and the work continues even if you feel dead sometimes.
The work continues. That's how it goes. I mean, we have devices that we'll be reviewing soon too. So it's an onslaught. Like things just kind of come at us, folks. But yeah, we're gonna get excited. We're gonna re-energize after WWDC and get ready for all the new devices we're expecting. Any picks for us this week, Sherlyn?
In the like, I mean, obviously I haven't been like doing any relaxing in the last few days, but
Hmm.
today last night when I got home, I was like, finally I'm in my home. I feel so good at home. I really like being in my apartment that I made to order to feel good for me, right?
Hmm.
Finally sat back and turned on like my guilty pleasure. I saw on Netflix Perfect Match season 2 is on. So I
Yeah.
started watching Perfect Match. It is the trashiest stuff. The stuff that like, it's like there's like TLC and ABC and all of those quality. There's like reality TV that's like there's a standard, right? And then there's Netflix reality, right? And then there's Netflix reality in terms of Perfect Match, where they basically pull people from their other reality shows like The Circle or Love is Blind or Too Hot to Handle. And then they put them together in one space, I think it's in Tulum, and then have them try to date each other. And it is absolute trash. And I am here for it. You know what I like? I like to watch people be bad or go through these like struggles of like your self-esteem and whatnot, and then psychologically tear them apart, but also compare them to people I know in real life. It is so somehow relaxing for me.
I mean, it's like a brain massage for you. I get it. It's just like it helps you chill out. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
I want to shout out, I've been reading, or I guess listening to an audiobook, which is how I can define reading at this point. Because often my
Mm.
eyes are too tired to read because I'm reading stuff all day. But during our trip to WWDC and afterwards, I have been listening to the audiobook for Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Have you heard of this, Sherlyn?
Mm.
This is a
No.
novel by Gabrielle Zevin. It's about two friends who bond over a love of video games and end up running a video game studio together, but it's also, the novel about friendship and platonic love and romantic love, and also finding a place for yourself in the world when you feel kind of like the world is not meant for you too.
Mm.
I think it's really fascinating and moving. It kind of gets a little over the top at the end, but this is something people have been talking about recently because it is not like a tech-centered book, but it is something that is well aware of like the culture of video games and what it means for us and how
Hmm.
things are built. So I think you'd enjoy this one, Cherlynn. It's definitely going to become some sort of like Netflix, I don't know, series or
Yeah.
movie. I think a movie is being planned. I know the rights were sold. Yeah, a movie is
Mhm.
being planned, but this thing is so like it is so like long and like I wouldn't say quite epic, but it's about life. It's about a journey of life between friends, and it would be really hard to contain this in like a 90-minute or 2-hour movie even. But anyway, I'm enjoying the audiobook. I got that from Audible. But the book itself, I'm sure would be a fun, easy breezy read tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. If you're listening to the show, I think you'd probably dig it. So check it out. It's by Gabrielle Zevin.
Okay.
All right.
Let me get to the script of the outro.
Mhm.
Everyone on the chat, we're just going to record this for the audio podcast. We'll still be around even after I read this part out. All right. That's it for the episode this week, everyone. Thank you as always for listening. Our theme music is by game composer Dale North. Our outro music is by our former managing editor, Terrence O'Brien. The podcast is produced by Ben Elman. You can find Devindra online at
Devindra on Twitter, wherever, Blue Sky, Mastodon, all over the place. And I talk about movies and TV at thefilmcast.com.
If you want to send me some examples of mind-numbing games or TV shows like anesthetic for my brain, send them to me on Twitter. I am at Cherlynn Low over there, or on Threads at Cherlynstagram, or just email cher@engadget.com. Email us your thoughts about the show at podcast@engadget.com. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe anywhere you get platforms, anywhere you
Anywhere
get
you get
podcasts.
platforms. Yes. Thanks, folks. We're out. Quick correction or a quick update for the people on the stream. Sean
Mhm.
Heder, who did Coda, is apparently directing the Tomorrow and Tomorrow movie. So we'll see what happens there. We talked about Coda. Yeah. I hope it's not super generic like Coda was. Yeah.
Let's see. Oh yeah, I wanted to give a shout out next week. But Dude Named Charlie says iTunes is dead. What's the next podcast platform? Next
There are
week,
many
isn't
apps.
it?
Pocket Casts.
I think next week we have like a federal holiday in the middle of the week, right? Isn't it Juneteenth?
Juneteenth is in the middle of the week.
It's on Wednesday. So I have the days after that off as well, just a heads
We'll
up.
figure it out. I will
And I
likely
don't
be
know
doing something. Yeah.
if we will definitely be having an episode, but I just wanted to point out
Yep.
that there's a national holiday in next
In the
week.
middle of the week. Be aware, everybody.
But I am
not
looking
everybody,
forward to taking a break.
you need a break. Not everybody will be getting that break, unfortunately. But yeah, I think
You mean not everybody in the country or
not everybody in the
our
country.
team?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yes, a lot of places in the country do not observe all those holidays too, even
unfortunately.
if it's a federal holiday. But yeah, how's chat doing?
Chat's doing good. Buddy305 Love asked me specifically, will you be testing the Snapdragon X Elite laptop?
Will you,
No,
Ben?
I will not be testing it because I'm just the podcast guy. But I am curious why you asked that question to me specifically. Is this like something audio related?
I don't know. I think it's more like, hey, can you ask it for the team? I don't know.
Yeah.
We will likely be getting those within the next few months because the release was like end of June, right? We're expecting them soon, so look at the release dates.
Yeah.
Look at the release dates.
They're supposed to be
Expect
mid-June, if I'm not
reviews.
wrong, right? Like
Yeah.
Anyway. Question from Dude Named Charlie in the chat, because Paradise in the chat pointed out Apple ID is now called Apple Account. That is right. We did cover it on Engadget.com, Dude Named Charlie. Apple ID is now called Apple Account, which is like
okay, sure.
a very semantic change, but wow. Yeah.
I think they don't want to be like this is an actual ID, right? They want to be a little more human form. So account. Mark Dell, I do not watch Doctor Who. I do need to catch up on the new season because it looks cool. There's too much to watch. Too much to watch.
Your name, Charlie, you mentioned the Gentleman Netflix TV show that you had brought up on in the previous episode, I think, Devindra. Very Guy Ritchie.
Barry Guy Ritchie.
Oh, and yeah, Apple TV is doing 21:9 support for that widescreen projector aspect ratio, right?
That's cool. Nobody has those projectors, but that's cool. It's cool for that the fraction of an audience that has those projectors. Because I do love the idea of that, but most of the content we watch is not 21:9. So you that means most of the content you watch on that projector will have bars on the side. And I can't live like that. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm just more used to having bars at the top and bottom of my screen too, so it's fine.
I mean, yeah, something about it is a bit of an aesthetic. I don't know. There was some Cybertruck chatter. CF542 says every time I see a Cybertruck on the road, I can't stop laughing. I can't stop screaming for some reason.
It looks dumb as hell.
Okay, so
I'll be like-
Cherlynn, here's a question for like New York area people. It seems like everyone who ordered a Cybertruck or had a pre-order for a Cybertruck in the like tri-state area seems to be getting them now. Have you noticed that? Because I went from seeing 0 Cybertrucks and kind of just assuming that only people on the West Coast were interested in them in the first place to seeing like 2 to 3 in the last like couple of weeks.
I will say that after I saw my first one, that was mid-May in Iowa, then I started, and then I came back to New York. I saw a bunch more, so I don't know that it's only in just the last 2 to 3 weeks. I've seen them since for about a month now. But my definition of the tri-state area includes Jersey and Long Island, where I spend a lot of time. So if you're talking about like New York City proper in the 5 boroughs.
Oh no, I'm just talking about like the general area, because
Yeah.
it seems like the Cybertruck did not exist on the East Coast until like the middle of May or something.
I mean, I was
that's when I
seeing them
started
months
seeing
ago.
them at all. Yeah.
I saw them months ago in
Yeah.
Atlanta too, so they've been around.
So I think
yeah,
my first sighting was very exciting, and then afterwards it was like, another one. Like these things look hideous.
I
It's
just
so
want
strange.
I want to keep like things ready in my car just to throw at the Cybertruck because it's ugly as hell. Oh my god.
Also, a lot of my friends are into cycling now, and of course, like that thing looks like it's just tailor-made to kill cyclists.
Kill cyclists.
Yeah. Or any pedestrian.
I
like
will
anybody.
say, like, having ridden city bikes in like the city a lot more lately is just awful.
Not great.
It's scary. It's so stressful for me. To be fair, everything stresses me out. So like my
But especially
tolerance
that
is very low.
thing, like New York
That is hard.
drivers
Like
do
you have
not.
to look for so many different things at once. It's like pedestrians opening doors, cars swerving and changing lanes. There's just so much going
Good
on.
thing the governor of New York supports like making streets safer, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
A real quick random non-tech shout, by the way. Dude named Charlie says you think the Hyundai Santa Cruz has more trunk. So I want to say Hyundai, the way y'all in America pronounce it is so weird, and that's why you spell it Hyunday in the chat. Dude named Charlie, I think, because it's actually spelled Hyundai. In Singapore, this is how we pronounce car brands. Okay, it was Hyundai. Hyundai is Hyundai. I think there was a few other brands that I'm like, wow, Americans pronounce this really. I mean, Toyota is Toyota. Kia is Kia, which is pretty easy. But like Hyundai always like confused me.
Yeah, I've heard Hyundai and I've heard Hyundai, not Hyundai.
Oh, that's not for you, Cherlynn. That was just for.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was like, I think you mean
Yeah.
Anyway, and then there's some other they're like when you were saying Tsushima.
I messed that up.
No, that's fine. I was gonna say that even Tsushima is weird to me, right? Because TSU, which is how it's spelled, should be Z, right? But like I'm like, okay, I can't expect everyone in like the English speaking world to just say Z because it's a very specific sound.
I think in the UK they also say Hyundai or something different. Like everybody does.
English speaking.
Yeah.
For TSU is very uncommon, but DAI, right? DAI is only pronounced day in America, but die elsewhere, I think. But yeah, Tsushima is like the only understanding I have of TSU words are like tsukareta. I'm like, tsukareta ne. Like, it's like that's Japanese for I'm so tired, and obviously very on brand for me to know the what's I'm so tired in every other language. So CF542 Hyundai. Yeah, that seems correct, but dude named Charlie says, how do they say Chevrolet in Asia? We say Chevrolet. We learn how to say words. I don't know. Like we just learn the correct pronunciation. I mean, some people don't get it right. Let's be honest.
Well, yeah, and like maybe your accent would like make it sound a little bit different, but at least they try harder.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I mean, people get confused. Like in I can imagine in Singapore, like my dad, for example, if he sees the word Chevrolet, he might go Chevrolet. You know, like he might be like Chevrolet. Like he would just read it like that at first, but then when he hears that it's Chevrolet, he might pronounce afterwards correctly. So, the what was it like? There's so many like strange actor names that are like also funny to play around with. Like, don't get me started on Ki Hui Kwan. Oh gosh, I know he's like I can only like look at his Chinese name or the characters of the name and go by that. Otherwise, it's very difficult for me. Anyway, get Matt Smith to say bottle of water. Bottle of water.
No, they lose the T, so it's like water for some of them.
I think it depends on where you grew up too.
Yeah. Apparently,
I think that's more of an Aaron thing than a Matt Smith thing. I think. Yeah.
There are different parts of England, different like renditions.
Is Buddy 305 Love? You are lucky that I didn't say Tushima. Because I think I've heard other people say that, and I was like, okay, yes, I'm going to play this game, Ghost of Tsushima, and I've gone back and forth between Japanese with English subtitles and just like English dialogue, and in both of them they say Shushima, and I just messed it up when I was saying it the first couple of times, but it's accurate to the dumb American tongue, isn't it?
If you play games or watch anime, it is worth like just going through the standards for Japanese pronunciation, because it's really easy. But once you learn that, then you kind of unlock proper pronunciations for a lot of names too. Yeah. Oh man. Well, it's good to have chat back. It's good to have you all back.
It's nice to talk to everyone. Yeah, and also, shout out your like most tricky words to pronounce. I feel like that's a fun.
Send us an email, podcast@engadget.com.
That's the challenge, right? Every episode we like pronounce a new word
differently. Well, it's more like how do you pronounce some groups of words? Because sometimes when you group words together, it gets weird. Yeah.
I think I would have a lot of trouble with Vietnamese. Vietnamese sounds so interesting.
Vietnamese and Thai both are very difficult.
And it sounds like you speak it a lot from like the back of your mouth. There are a lot of. It sounds like there are a lot of glottal stops.
Yeah, Portuguese is more sing-songy, things like that. Beautiful to hear.
I know more Thai than I know Vietnamese. Let me think. What do I know that's Vietnamese? No, I don't know a lot of Vietnamese. I know a lot more Thai. All right. Icelandic blows the moon's mind. Buddy 305 Love says pronounce wuthering. Wuthering? That's tricky. That is tricky. Yeah.
In a lot of American pronunciations are almost like withering with that. Because the
Wuthering
Heights. Yeah. People say Wuthering Heights, yeah.
Wuthering Heights. A lot of people are poor Norwegian speakers as well, says Freno Zeno. Anyway. Data or data or data? Tomato.
GIF.
Data.
GIF. Anyway, GIF. I think that is about it, right? Like, Dude and Charlie says that they gotta go. Fun chat. Have a great weekend. Yes.
Oh, okay. Goodbye. Declan has a really good comment. On my first foreign business trip to Paris, I tried my best school French to tell the receptionist that I was here to see Mr. X. She looked at me and said, "Do not speak French."
That sounds very French response. Yeah.
Don't even try.
It's like all my encounters of like European media at WWDC.
Well, I mean, and especially Parisians.
Especially
is it pronounced silicon?
Silicon or silicone is something very different. So never confuse the two. Silicon is chips. Silicone is implants. Plastic. Yeah. Other things. Yeah.
Right. Material. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, folks, thank you for joining us. Be sure to check out the bonus episode if you missed that, if you want to hear more of our Apple talk, Apple discussion. And I think we'll be doing one. I'll be here next week. So we'll do something. I'll be out the first 3 weeks of July. So maybe you guys, it's up to you guys how you run.
Oh, okay.
And also no live stream while I'm out. So that's a whole
Probably no live stream for most of July, guys.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Go touch some grass. Buddy 305 Love. I have seen Godzilla -1. Go check out my movie podcast where I talk about movies.
You know what? When Dev is out, I'll do a personal live stream on my own Instagram.
You could
There
just
you go.
do a TikTok. Yeah, well, you're not TikTok live, but Instagram live. You could do that and call that the Engadget
There you
Podcast
go.
live stream.
Oh no.
There's other ways to do it.
All right, I'm gonna do a quick roll call shout out to people in the chat. Goodbye to CF542 who says in France you just stuck with hello and thank you, bonjour and merci. Thank you to the Moon Buddy 305 Love who asked about Godzilla -1. Sir Holmes says bye friends. Simon B goodbye saying no Engadget sad sorry. Mark Dell I'll be in Burlington next month. Ooh, does that
Oh,
mean you
fun.
won't see us? Do know. Bye to Buddy 305 Love again. Viral Simon B. Sorry guys, but we appreciate you all
The
the
Thank
moon.
you
Goodbye
all.
to the moon.
and George Morgan.
And George Morgan. Thanks for watching, folks. Be sure to subscribe to the show. Give us some thumbs up. Like
Declan.
all the love is always appreciated.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. I mean, you really do make us smarter. We mention you when you have really good comments in the audio version. It's really helpful.
Mhm.
So Devindra does OBS. I do camera switching and watch the chat, and we'll see you next week.
Later, folks. Bye.